Yeah, hello and welcome to another video covering a game from the 45 League on Lichess. This is lakinwecker playing MadLoKi. So this is a very sharp game actually. We'll see what happens. It's a Pirc defense named after the Slovenian player Vajza, I think, Pirc. There is even a Pirc Memorial tournament. I tried to play that tournament once, but it didn't fit my schedule. I travel Slovenia quite often, so that would have been nice, but it didn't work out. So, okay, this is the Pirc defense, and a white player goes for bishop f4. This is a somewhat unconventional move, but not bad at all. It just needs to be followed up correctly. It's a normal developing move, of course. Bishop g7, and now white played the move h3. I'm not so happy with this move, as it is not clear yet that white needs this in any way. This can often be an option, but do you need that? Currently, knight h5 is not a threat, so I think I would have preferred to just play queen d2, intending this, or play knight f3, which can never be a bad move. Just develop, for example, castles and queen d2. And white's position is quite flexible. He can still play for a quick long castle, but he can also play bishop h6 and just play bishop d3 in this kind of way. h3 is a potential loss of tempo. It's not clear that this is a necessary move. So castles, queen d2, knight a6. Yeah, this development by black on the rim is an interesting way to play, preparing c5. The immediate c5, sometimes d takes c5 is an option, and you don't probably want to play this position. So knight a6 intends to play c5, and then in case of a capture, to try to recapture with the knight. So white now played long castles. Possible. However, after c5, which was black's intention anyway, white now has to be quite cautious. He should not do what he's doing now. Probably he has to play something like captures on c5. Yeah, knight takes, and then something like f3. This is probably quite okay for black, but it is still better to play that compared to what the white player did. Maybe even bishop e3 was a stronger move than the game move. In the game, white took on a6. The bishop on f1 captured the knight. In this particular position, this move is even tactically problematic. However, I wanted to state that in general, taking the a6 knight with the f1 bishop is very rarely a good idea. I mean, you see this kind of situation quite often, that the knight gets developed here on the edge of the board, and a bishop is simply usually stronger than a knight on a6. The damage to black's pawn structure potentially isn't all that much of a problem as the b file gets opened up. In this precise position, the problem is more tactical even, as black took correctly on d4. This is the right reply, and much stronger than just recapturing. I just wanted to mention that besides this tactical issue, rarely a good idea to take the knight on a6. So here, black took on d4, and this is a nice move. The knight is attacked and the bishop is still hanging. White now probably had to take on d4 with the queen. It's not such a nice position to be in, but probably is the right move. Here black has a good choice between just taking on a6 and playing knight h5. Both moves I think are good. Here you have to see that black has the b and c file open against white's king, and bishop b7 can also be put some pressure on the pawn. But also bishop e6, let's say let's unpaint this, bishop e6, queen a5, that looks pretty strong. Black also has this move, which is probably arguably even stronger. Yet another intermediate move, attacking the queen and attacking the bishop. So probably the queen will go, and now take with the knight on f4. This position is absolutely terrible for white. He's got two knights against two absolutely raging bishops. And b and c file again, they're open. That is probably close to lost, this position. I mean, you know, it doesn't look all that bad maybe at the moment, but just a couple of moves later, you see how quickly rook b8, queen here, ought to b6, and it all comes with tempo. This is terrible, really. Better is probably for white to just drop this back. And yeah, here's some knight e6, and black will be also very happy. He's got the bishop pair and chances on the queen side. So still, this is what white should have done. He played this move, and after that, the position becomes almost lost. Black took on c3, queen takes, and knight takes e4. So white has lost the big center pawn, and yeah, also the power of this bishop becomes enormous now. Queen e3, and here the black player missed a good opportunity. The move that he played was perfectly okay. I mean, it kept a good advantage, but with the right move, yeah, black's position becomes absolutely overwhelming. And this is an easy move to miss. The thing is, we have this tendency as human beings to be, hopefully, in fact, it's a good thing to have, to be systematic about things. The queen is attacking the knight, and we automatically assume, okay, the knight is attacked. I have to move it away, or I have to cover it, or maybe we get to the point that we say, okay, that could be a counter-attack. But the natural tendency is to play what MadLoKi did, just retreat the knight. However, there was a much stronger move, and here it is queen to b6. And this is something that can easily be missed. It's a counter-attack. Note that it also looks at the white queen. First of all, this is not playable, because after bishop f5, white has a huge problem. Where's the queen going? If you go to e2 to keep c2 covered, then queen b2, king d2,
check,
and so on, leads to an absolutely decisive attack. There is no way for white to survive this. Or after the bishop goes here, if you don't cover c2, it gets even worse, as black can take everything here. Yeah, and he's a million pawns up and has an attack. The move queen b6 sorry, was very strong, because white actually has to take. And then, after the queen trade, black is in fantastic shape. Yeah, he's got an extra pawn, an extra center pawn, a very nice knight, so white has to lose some time, and a firm initiative. For example, after bishop e3, the move bishop e6 is good. Yeah, those probably have to trade, and then again, f2 hangs and a2 hangs. Oh, that was a bit of a wrong arrow. So here, arrow, not arrow. Yeah, it's very good for black. Knight f6 is not a terribly bad move. It's just that queen b6 was more powerful. After trading queens, you also reduce any swindling potential a little bit. Yeah, white played knight f3, developing, and now black went b6. This is a bit of a conservative move. It seems that he just wanted to prepare bishop to b7. However, I think what black should do is play more ambitiously. b5 was a good choice. If white takes this, rook b8 will be trouble here. For example, after bishop move, black can already take this. As king takes, knight d5 is a nice discovered check, and the queen gets lost. So it's a bit difficult now. I mean, white, theoretically speaking, can cover this bishop, but after a6, there's the same story. So white cannot actually take this pawn, and if you cannot take this pawn, it's a good move. Yeah, it gets the same thing going with the bishop, but also expands quickly. So like here, black has an attack here. It's no fun. b6 is a bit too passive. b5 was, yeah, not just like sitting on the extra pawn, but actually using the attacking potential. Rook e1. Yeah, and now black made a mistake. Yeah, this is attacked. And again, the best solution is not to like cover the attacked pawn or change something, yeah, play something passively, but to do a counter attack. He should have played queen c7 here, so that queen e7 can be answered by the capture. And here, like after bishop b3, black still has a choice what he wants to play. e5 here, for example, is possible. In the game, he immediately played e5. But here, the problem is that white now can take on e5. There is a pin here. Yeah, the rook and queen are yeah, facing each other on the d file. Yeah, white can take on e5 with the knight and the bishop, or the bishop. In the game, knight takes e5 was played. The move bishop takes e5 forever, I think, was stronger. Got a couple of lines to look at. It looks a little bit like a self pin after rook e8, but bishop takes f6 is actually blundering or winning a piece for white. So black blundered. Now you can do a quick count. Black is a piece down. Rook e8 is not possible. Black can play something like queen c7 here, essentially double attacking, but this is also quite good for white. He can take on f6. I'm sorry, and play queen to f4, looking at those and covering the bishop. Here, probably white is a little bit better. Yeah, it's an important pawn that he regained, and he's got some some nice piece activity. Yeah, bishop takes e5 was definitely a good option. That was possible because black played the not so well timed e5. Instead, the knight took, but now all of a sudden queen c7 happened, which is a good move really by MadLoKi. Now it's tricky for white. If the knight moves somewhere, then the queen can take the bishop. So something like that. There's only one thing that white can do.
Check.
Yeah, sacrifice on f7. I mean, okay, sacrifice. It's not a sacrifice as white is not material down, but yeah, take on f7. Got those captures, and now it's white to move. An absolutely critical position. If we do just a count, we see that material-wise, things are equal. White has got rook and pawn against two minor pieces on the black side. Yeah, 6 pawns versus 5, and we got the rook against 2 pieces. Yeah, white now has a couple of moves that he can play. Probably here bishop h6 was an option. In the game, the pawn on d6 was taken. Bishop h6, I think, is quite interesting. One important point is that black, should he decide to take, is in real trouble. Takes, king takes, rook d6. Here, white threatens very strongly queen to e7, or sometimes rook takes knight. And this is in fact losing for black. He has a hard time here to keep the material. For example, if bishop f5, there is queen d4. All kinds of threats, also g4, g5. Here, white is winning. Not easy for black. He can try to give some checks, but white can play c3. And now, again, he has no defense. It doesn't look that terrible, but how do you defend at the end? Yeah, something like queen f5. There's just queen to e7. And next move, white will take here, or with the queen. Yeah, like here you can just take with the queen. So bishop h6 was an interesting choice. However, black does not have to take on a2, of course. he can play other stuff. For example, he could do this and then play, let's say d5 or bishop f5. Both moves come into consideration. Here the situation is not quite clear to me. Material-wise, white is not in bad shape. And something like f3 here, and then descend maybe g4, h4, h5. White might get something going here against the king. It feels like white is not risking very much. It's a good option, I think. Bishop h6. And queen takes a2 is not a move that is entirely unlogical. So some players might go for that. Bishop d6 was played in the game. And this is okay, like objectively speaking, but tough, very tough to play. We'll see. Black took on a2. This is now a possible move, not a bad move at all. White now has a very, very narrow path to an okay position. And the first move played by white is correct. He played queen f3, attacking the rook in the corner. And you have to see the rook has no way no way to run. So it is essentially trapped on a8 in a way. So what to do now for black? Black played the check, which is the best move. And here the white player had to find the right solution. He played bishop f4, which is wrong. What in fact is okay is the not so logical looking move rook e3. The thing is, if black grabs this now and f takes e, we attack as white. We attack two pieces here. And black has a hard time. He cannot give up the rook in the corner. What should he do? The best solution is to give checks here. And white cannot deviate. He has to go back. Something like that is not going to work. Black is a piece up. Or even worse, go there when black gets this rook into the game here with the tempo. Yeah, so this is a draw in fact. The move rook e3 would have led to a draw. Quite funny. While bishop f4 was played in the game, and this now should have lost it. Should have lost the game. However, oh, my notes are a mess as usual. Here black had a winning tactic. That was, yeah, fortunately for the white player, missed. Yeah, what was black's best move? Now you always have to check for dependencies in positions. Where is a piece in a way pinned or tied to a certain job? And here we see that this is a critical diagonal, and the white queen is currently the only piece covering this. If the white queen wouldn't cover the bishop, bishop takes f4 would be a disaster. And this was the way to use this fact. Very nice. The queen is attacked and can definitely not take. Yeah, here check. Black will win easily. So where is the queen going? You can go here, but check. After something like that, check. Black wins check. Pretty easily. Or after bishop b7, the queen might go to e3. But here knight e4 is strong, threatening mate. Well, black's position is excellent. Something like c3, you can just go bishop g7 and then continue to attack. Bishop b7 was extremely strong. And also, I mean, it's a move that, besides the tactical points, is just perfectly coordinating black. It's coming out with a tempo, covering the rook. It's a great move. Black didn't see that. He gave the check, king d2, and now check again, and c3. Yeah, now, after the trade, it's black's move, and now he only had one way to play. This is attacked, and the way to do it was bishop f5, preparing potentially rook d8, and just activating this bishop. Here, after, for example, g4, black is okay. Yeah, if he gives a check, king e2, He can
Check.
play queen here. I'm sorry, or queen. I'm sorry. Why can I not do here? Yeah. This is the better move. I want to attack this as well. Yeah, here, for example, black is totally fine. It's a very tactical position, of course. So you can easily screw things up. Note that this is covered. Yeah, very tactical, but it seems that black is fine. In the game, black did not play bishop f5, but the check. And this, in fact, seems to lose the game. King c1, queen to f7,
check,
rook d8 check, all good. And now we see right here, white has excellent momentum. The rook on d8, yeah, puts some pressure here on the 8th rank, and black's king is under severe pressure. White now played queen d6, which is correct, and king h6. Yeah, black is really desperate. So what's going on here? White now made a pretty big mistake. Here, the big thing is that white has an attack on the black king, and you should definitely not, as he did, trade queens with queen f8. He probably had some miscalculation there, thinking that he was winning a piece. What does win here is the move rook e7, attacking the queen. And we see, I mean, where is the black queen supposed to go? It's not like it has many squares. For example, something like here, white can just take, white can just take the knight. There is no check, nothing. So black has to do something, yeah, something else. What is there? I really don't see it. Something like this. There are some fancy solutions here for, like, the computer gives this. But this is something that is not necessary. You can also just take here and just be up tons of material. So it's a bit mysterious what prompted white not to play rook e7. There's not even checks here, like maybe this one, but you grab here. And this is just
check.
One single check that the queen has. So not sure. Rook e7 was the most logical looking move, and it does win. This was played in the game. Maybe the white player thought that he would win with this as well, but this in fact is not the case. King g7, rook d8, and now the strong move king f7, and rook e7 now is prevented. Now do a count. It's pawn and rook against two minor pieces. This is not an advantage for white. g4 was played. Now we got a rook trade. And now g5 played by black. Yeah, and here white now has to be alert. What black wants to do ideally is to grab all the pawns, and white here I think is the one who needs to be careful. And I mean, he should try to make a draw here. If he finds something that draws, he should do it. So he played this move now. I think the idea, attacking g5, is not bad at all. But I wondered, why didn't he go with h4? It's almost the same idea, just using the less valuable pawn for it. I think h4 will probably lead to a draw at the end. Black takes, g5, and we see after a knight move, oops, they both get taken. Bishop e4 is actually the best move here. Black should give up this piece. After the capture, the likelihood of a draw here is fairly high. f3, bishop g6, and the white rook is coming around. I think this is almost certainly going to end in a draw. The computer gives some long line that ends with some repetition. f4 is risky. The idea is somewhat similar, but it doesn't quite work out. This gets taken. King e6, and now white has to watch out for the f-pawn. This is the thing. things are still probably okay, but by now you have to be very precise. G6 was played, King D1 was probably better, or King D2. But the main thing is coming here after Bishop E4. White can still play the move Rook H4 here and be okay. Note that Black has this, so Rook F4, there's a fork. But after G3, Knight D3, King D2, King F7, Rook G4. This is not a totally clear situation. Probably it still would end in some draw. White, somewhat inexplicably now, took on D7. And this just loses. It just doesn't work. Takes G7 and Black is stopping this. And it's just that, yeah, Black will pick up this for nothing. Yeah, White tried a couple of more moves, but
check.
He's quick enough here.
Check.
So an easy win from here. The F pawn is just kept, it's not lost. The bishop covers the promotion square. So an absolutely big struggle. Both sides had spots where they could have won, and all in all, yeah, this kind of game probably should be a draw at the end. But here, yeah, Black was ultimately successful. He was the first to have a clear advantage in the game, so maybe there's some sort of justice there. However, there were clear opportunities for White later. Most decisively, there was this situation here where somehow Rook E7 was not played, which just wins on the spot. That was the cleanest or the clearest moment in the game to decide it. Yeah, I think interesting game to watch. I hope you liked my coverage. Thanks for watching.